For the first video, the plate and the sand were used to create the waves by putting the sand on a plate and sliding it back and forth very slowly. Besides editing the sound to remove background noise, I used EQ and reverb to make it sound a little more like waves. The two Beanie Babies were used to create about 4 to 5 different sounds for walking or running on sand. These are the two Beanie Babies that helped me make those sounds. And so I basically just pushed on the Beanie Baby back and forth. I did not have to use modulation for those sounds at all. The last sound that I had to create for this video was the wind. The phone charger was used for this one. I swung it in circles, creating the sound. All I had to do after was add a little reverb and EQ to take out some of the noise when recording. In the second video, the last 3 sounds that I demonstrated are also included. I used two more bird sounds and a boat horn to accompany the other sounds. The blue dog toy is what I use for one of the bird sounds. After recording, I lowered the pitch by 1 octave and 12 semitones. To make it sound exactly how I wanted, I used pitch 2 once again and lowered the chorus. The pink rabbit was used for the boat sound and the seagulls by squeezing it different ways. I used a short recording for the seagulls and I took out the high end and boosted the low end. I then used harmonic distortion with PSA Sam's amp. The last thing I did was use pitch 2 once again to lower it about a half an octave and I arrived at my seagull sound. For the boat, I chose one of the longer recordings and then I used time stretch with the TCE tool and Pro Tools. I then proceeded to lower the sound by about 4 octaves and around -50 semitones and 100 cents, also using pitch 2. Last but not least, I use reverb to complete the sound. Ironically, this was used to help me create the volleyball sound in my last video. It required a little bit more work, but I really enjoyed it. So far, every sound that I've made was also in this video, besides the boat horn. The volleyball sound was added, which I used a basketball for, by throwing it up and catching it with my fingertips. And that is the sound I was looking for. All I had to do was lower the sound an octave, and I played with the EQ a little bit by taking out the high end, and then I received my sound. Now, the salt and the plate were used once again, and this was to mimic the effect of sand being kicked or falling off of somebody's foot, or potentially their shoe. And all I did was take a little bit of salt and dropped it onto the plate. I then used EQ to take out a lot of the low end, raise the high end around 10,000 hertz, and use reverb. When the guy falls into the sand, I again use the sand and the paper plate to imitate that as well. Initially it was supposed to be a scooping sound, but it worked out a little better for me this way. And instead of a little bit of salt, I grabbed a lot of salt and I dropped it onto the paper plate. Alright, now that there is salt everywhere, I will put that down. So, to manipulate that, I use two separate EQs. The first one removed the low, mid, and high-end frequencies. The second one removed frequencies after 1000, and I had my sound. Last but not least, I used a water pick flosser to mock the sound of an engine for a boat. This bad boy right here. So, I use a lot of plugins to help with this sound, such as EQ, Pitch 2, Compressor, which comes with Pro Tools, and one Waves plugin, which was the Doubler 2, and that affected the pitch. After using all of those, I ended up with my boat engine sound. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the other two videos, and I hope you enjoyed this one as well. Thank you.